Hey folks, welcome back to the Leeds Gamer. It's match review time, and it's not good news. I went to Ellen Road today to go and watch the Leeds United women play against Norton and Stockton Ancients, and unfortunately the Leeds women have come away with a 2-1 loss. As I say quite frequently, the score doesn't tell the entire story whatsoever. So, let's go into it. I'm using the match report that Leeds United have put on their own website there, just to go through some of the details. So it starts with a picture of the first 11 in the huddle at the start of the match. And I had a pretty good seat, so where the halfway line is, you can just see it across the top of the grass there. Literally about 2 seats to the left, and then up about 10 rows. You can see it's very tiny, but you can see a blue jacket with sunglasses, which is me. The only reason they'd gone dark was because it was a point where the sun had come out. I've got the photochromic transition lenses. Anyway, there was a couple of moments, because I actually got home from the match and then I re-watched it on LUTV, and there's a couple of moments in the match where you could actually really clearly see me. So it was a good view. From where I was sat, you could see the entire game very clearly. So yeah, it wasn't to be. It was a solid attendance, very similar to last season. They got around 5,000 for the home match, or the Ellen Road match that they had last season. They got just over 4,000 this year as well, so another solid turnout. Tickets were priced at only six quid, £7.50 if you book online, or over phone or whatever. So it was always good value to go to Ellen Road when it's that cheap. I felt sorry for the girls in the end. There was a couple of moments in the match that was just pure bad luck, unfortunately. But I'll just go through the lineups first. So Leeds had Carrie Simpson in goal. They had Elena Millard at right back. Shauna Legg and Emily Cassidy were the two centre backs, with Darcy Green at left back. It was then like a midfield three with Alice Hughes playing as the defensive midfielder, with Ellie White Ellie White was kind of more central, and then Kath Smith that little bit further forward, but effectively a midfield three. And then you had Drew Green on the right and Chloe Dixon on the left, supporting Amy Woodruff up front. The only two subs not used in the game at all were backup goalkeeper Charlotte Oates and I can't remember Graham's first name. I think she's a youngster. Might be Abby Graham. Ugh, memory slips my mind now. And a similar situation for Norton as well, in the sense that they used all of the subs apart from their backup goalkeeper, which according to commentary, Valentine was had only just been coming back from a broken wrist. So Chisnell was effectively their second choice goalkeeper by all accounts. And then Ray, the other player that didn't come on for Norton. In terms of the Leeds subs, Izzy Elliott came on for Emily Cassidy around the 70th minute. Sophie Bentley came on the 88th for Ellie White. Sian Jewel-Keating actually came on at the very start of the second half for Kath Smith. Paige Williams came on literally with a minute to go for Amy Woodruff, and Macy Ellis came on for Chloe Dixon again on the 88th minute. I think some of these subs were maybe a little late, in my humble opinion. As much as I love Kath Smith, I think she's one of Leeds' best players on her day. I have to give Sian Jewel-Keating her flowers, because she came on and looked pretty good. In terms of the game as a whole, I thought Alice Hughes was really good. She was good defensively, she was good going forward. Hughes was very, very effective in a lot of the game. The Green sisters, I thought they were really good. And Chloe Dixon scored an absolute worldie of a free kick. The rest of them, had the moments. Millard was getting down the wing from right back pretty well. She was assisting the attacks. I thought Shauna Legg at times was quite good in defence. Emily Cassidy was kind of she was carrying the ball forward out of defence quite a bit. Ellie White, not bad. She kind of did a little bit of everything in the middle. And the only thing I would say really is that Amy Woodruff didn't have a lot of service given to her in this match. So it wasn't Amy Woodruff's day, unfortunately. We really needed her to potentially be the kind of the main target up front, and she just never had that many opportunities. But again, wasn't given great service. In the first half, it was quite even between the two teams. I felt that Norton were quite solid defensively. They kept cutting out everything that Leeds tried to do. Leeds tried putting in a lot of through balls and passes between the lines and things like that, and they just kept intercepting and tackling and blocking, and Leeds just couldn't find a way to break that down. So on one hand, Leeds were quite offensive at times, but certainly in the first half, it really just wasn't working. As I said, there was a couple of attempts which will obviously get mentioned in the report that we'll look at in a moment. But just based on the eye test for myself, I felt that the first half was relatively even. Second half, Leeds started really brightly. And as I say, as much as I love Kath Smith in terms of what she brings to the team, Sian Jewel-Keating just brought an extra dimension. She was pacey, she was strong. She had a couple of attempts on goal, looked really, really bright, really lively, and gave a bit more support up front to Amy Woodruff. I think Amy was a little bit isolated at times, in a sense that as much as Drew and Chloe were trying to get up in support, it just wasn't really working, it wasn't happening. But I have to say the Green sisters looked a step above. You could see why we ended up getting them from Halifax, from a tier above. Both of them looked very sharp, very, very good on the ball, and were always trying to create things. They would take a clever touch on the ball that none of the other players maybe some of the players weren't even capable of taking these touches, but it was just really clever in possession, um, and you can tell that the Green Sisters have come from a step above. They were excellent. I was really hoping Paige Williams and Macy Ellis were going to get more game time. Both of them came on very late and didn't have time to affect the game really. But I was very impressed with Alice Hughes. I thought she was good defensively. She supported the attack when going forward as well in terms of that midfield, and she was good. She was good. But if any of you haven't seen it, you've got to watch the free kick from Chloe Dixon. when Leeds got given the free kick, I was literally saying to myself, why have you got a right footer on this? It's tailor-made for a left footer in swinging towards the goal. But I think that Alice Hughes was actually wanting to take the set pieces, because when Chloe Dixon went off, when she was subbed, it was very late on. Alice Hughes took over the set pieces, and when Chloe Dixon scores, I think she actually apologises to Alice Hughes for not letting Alice take the free kick. It's a great moment for Chloe, to score on to score at Ellen Road, and score such a good goal. It probably had no right to go in directly. I think there was both Alice and one of the Leeds player that nearly got the heads on it, but it's a belter of a free kick. It's a right-footed, technically an outswinger, but it's a right-footed curling ball, and just nestles in. It just kind of floats over and lands in the top far corner. It's a lovely strike. It really is. It's not struck with a ton of power or anything. It's just incredibly accurate. So yeah, get it watched. It's a lovely moment for the girls when you see it going in, and you see how happy the Leeds players were at equalising, and a really good reaction from the crowd as well when that equaliser went in. I mean, I was loving it. I thought, get the hell in, No, it was really good. So let's get into the match stats. As you can see there, attendance 4,053. I think it was around 5,000 last year. So again, a relatively similar attendance in that regard. Which is really good because the girls very rarely play in front of even 1,000. So to get 4 times that amount, it's a great experience for these players. Just remember, folks, these players are not playing in the Premier League of women's football like Leeds United are playing in the Premier League of men's football. These girls are playing in, I think it's the 4th tier, which in England, that'd be what, League 2? So, there is a massive difference. And again, there's a massive difference in quality as well. It is of a lower level, but these girls are only playing part-time. It's the equivalent of playing, like if you were in the men's game, it's the equivalent of playing in the National League North. It's not their first. It's not their primary income, if you like. They work regular day jobs, or they're currently studying. The younger players in the squad. They're doing uni courses or advanced college courses or whatever. These girls are not professional football players. So for them to experience going out onto Ellen Road, which is a massive pitch compared to the pitch that they play on at Garforth, and the quality of the pitch as well, it's like playing on an indoor bowling rink. Whereas the Garforth pitch, it's like playing on a bloody Sunday League park field. The difference is huge. So I think some of the players found it a little difficult to adapt to these better quality facilities that they were playing on, it must make a difference. Again, just being able to judge the passing that they were doing, there was quite a bit of overhit passes in pretty much the entire match, actually. I think some of the players found it a little difficult to adapt. It'd be great if Leeds could play in this game. If Leeds women could play on this kind of condition on a more regular basis, because playing at Garforth, it doesn't allow the players to express themselves in the same way. And I think it would benefit them. They'd get fitter because they'd be forced to get fitter because of playing on a bigger, better quality pitch. And I think that some of the better players would flourish on it. I really do. But it is what it is. In terms of how close I got in terms of the lineup, because I was only predicting, I didn't know who was unavailable or anything like that. I got it right with Simpson, I got it right with Millard, got it right with Legg. I had Cassidy on the bench, I had Elliott on the bench, I got it right with Darcy Green, got it right with Hughes, got it. White was on. I had White on the bench, I had Bentley on the bench, I got it right with Smith, I had Jibril Keating on the bench, I got it right with Drew, I got it right with Woodruff. I had Page and Macy both starting. I think I had Chloe Dixon on the bench. I had Charlotte Oates on the bench as well. So I got about half right. I got about half right. I did have Brittany Sanderson starting, but the commentary actually, I wasn't aware of this, but the commentary actually mentioned that she was injured, so that's why she didn't feature. I think she's about the only one that didn't feature at all out of those that I mentioned, just off the top of my head. I'd have to check my match previews to be sure. But yeah, so I wasn't a million miles off. So let's get into it then. So yeah, it says here that Simon Wood, the manager, brought in Chloe Dixon to play on the wing instead of Izzy Elliott, and Darcy Green came back into the fold playing at fullback. And yeah, the first half really was quite even, but the second half was just, it was all Leeds. It was all Leeds domination, quite frankly. With Norton literally having about 2 chances, and one of them resulting in one of the softest penalties that you'll ever see given. Really soft. But the referee bought it, and unfortunately Stockton, Norton and Stockton's gone from it. A few of the stills here. Yeah, the goal from Louise Atkinson for Norton and Stockton. The build up to it could have been prevented, I think, but it was a bit of a harsh one, because the shot from Atkinson takes a huge deflection off Shona Legg, and goes in at the Leeds near post. I mean, there was nothing Carrie Simpson could do about it. She wasn't to know that the ball was going to get such a large deflection. I think had Shauna not tried to block it, I think maybe Carrie saves it. But I mean, that's just hindsight at the end of the day. As a centre back, you're going to try and block that shot. There's absolutely no doubt. So hugely unlucky for the Leeds United women's captain. Again, Shauna didn't have a bad game. She was winning quite a few headers early on and things like that, yeah, it just that's really harsh. She's been a decent captain this season, as Shauna. She came in the summer and she's done well for the most part, but that was a bit of a stinker. And again, it's not you can't put a lot of blame on Shauna or Carey in the Leeds goal. As I say, I think that the only thing Leeds could have maybe done better was to stop the attack in the first place, just close it down, get more tackles in. I mean, straight from the first whistle, Norton and Stockton burst through and got a bit of a weak attempt in on Carey Simpson straight from the off. But that really, and apart from a couple of set pieces, that's pretty much all Norton and Stockton had. But as I say, they scored after about 20 odd minutes, and it really. I wouldn't say that first goal was against the run of play, but it certainly wasn't with the run of play either. It was a bit of a weird one. I still think Leeds were probably the better team in the first half, but it was closer. Second half, Leeds practically dominated the game. I do not know, having watched it live in person and having watched it again on LUTV on my computer, I'm really not sure how Leeds have lost this. At the very least, get a draw. It's if I'm being any kind of in a way critical, Leeds needed to be more clinical today. Too many shots going narrowly wide and narrowly over. You've got to make the opposition keeper work. Chisnell, she's Norton's second choice goalkeeper. She's a larger lady, if you like, in terms of build compared to some of the more athletic looking ladies in these lineups. I think she could have been worked a lot more in this match. In fairness to Chisnell, she made maybe 2 or 3 decent saves in the match. But I think that I really do think Leeds could have worked Chisnell a lot more over the 90 minutes, comfortably a lot more in my opinion. So it got to 40 minutes, and it looked as if Leeds were probably going to go in at half time 0-0. 1-0 down. Sorry. But then Leeds win a free kick, not too far out of the Norton box, but enough that you would expect it to be a cross that's going to come in. There was no cross. I mean, if it was a cross, it's a cross come shot. And as I say, it's an absolute belter from Chloe Dixon. Chloe's done fantastic with that. She's hit the ball really cleanly. Just as I say, not a lot of power, just accuracy. Just super accurate. And if that kind of accuracy had been the case for the number of attempts that we had on goal, especially in the second half, there's no way we lose this game. Absolutely no way. So anyway, she scores a fantastic free kick, and then that was on like the 42nd, 43rd minute. Leeds go in 1-1 at half time. As you can see from this picture here, Shanja Bukeating, there she is, number 21. Ironically, that's Norton's 21 in the background there. But yeah, Leeds' 21, Shanja Bukeating, she came on slap bang on half time for Kath Smith. I've got to assume Kath was maybe injured. Unless Simon Wood had kind of looked at the game and thought that Amy needed more support up front. Because Shan was at it from the start. She was attacking. She was offensive. She was really trying hard to get involved. Nearly scored within nearly scored with her second touch of the game. Like she kicked the ball from kickoff in the second half, and then her second touch was an attempt on goal. So yeah, really decent effort from Shan this afternoon. So as you can see here, looking to immediately take the lead, Leeds came forward through Darcy Green, who skipped past two Norton defenders before taking aim. Oh, so that's still part of the half. That was just before half time still. Oh, right. It just confused me for a minute when I was reading that. But yeah, that was one of the decent saves from Chisnell. But yeah, Chandra Keaton comes on. I'd have liked for Cass Smith to stay on. I think maybe she could have done something. I would, based on how the game was going, if I was bringing Shan on, I would have probably have taken maybe Ellie White off. But I'm not Simon Wood. So anyway, Shan came close again. 20 minutes to go. She was third through in behind. Defender breathing down the neck. She couldn't generate enough power to probably trouble to keep it. And that that little phrase there, it was the story of the game really, in a sense. Every attempt that Leeds had, or a lot of the attempts that Leeds had, any of them that were on target, they were daisy cutters. There wasn't anywhere near enough power. It was easy for Chisnell to claim in some kind of capacity. When the ball wasn't saved by Chisnell, it was going over or wide, and only by small amounts. We had one attempt where it was a looping header that hit the bar. I think we might have hit the post at one point. But honestly, like, Norton and Stockton provided nothing in that second half apart from one moment that required Carrie Simpson to come out of her goal and kick the ball forward. Other than that, the only other chance that occurred was the penalty. And it shouldn't have been a penalty. That is no way a bloody penalty. I'm sorry. It's soft as hell. Says here, however, against the run of play, Norton came forward as the ball bounced in the box. Penalty was awarded to the visitors with Owens stepping up and scoring. I think a yellow card was given to the Leeds defender as well, which didn't make any sense. It's not a penalty. If you watch the replay back, it's not a penalty. There were 7 minutes added on at the end, and that wasn't enough to, it kind of gave us enough time, or certainly give the fans, the idea that there was enough time for Leeds to maybe get an equaliser. And it would have been deserved if they had, because Leeds did all the pressing, Leeds did all the attacking in the second half, bar those two small moments. And it's all about clinicism, as I keep talking about, and I know it's a made-up word, but you've got to be clinical. If Leeds take their chances today, they win the match, because second half Norton played for the draw. Norton were playing for the draw in the second half, and on the one brief attack that they got, and they get a soft penalty. Even in the first half, after they took the lead, they didn't create a vast amount. I think from the start of the match, Norton were looking to get a draw out of this match and would have been quite happy with a draw. Now, don't get me wrong. In the second half, in particular, the defensive organisation from Norton and Stockton was very good. Even in the first half to an extent. But to keep out so many attempts either with blocks, interceptions, tackles, you name it. Norton did a lot of it. But did they do much attacking? No. So you could argue that Norton played with a lot of game management, a lot of successful game management, and while it was not pretty for Norton and from Norton and Stockton, it was effective enough. I don't think Norton came to Ellen Road thinking they were going to score 2 goals today, and realistically they probably shouldn't have done. You've got a deflected goal and a soft penalty. The penalty itself was well struck by Owens. She hit it into the top right corner as she was looking. Kerry Simpson dived to her right, which was obviously the wrong direction, and that was that. So with all of this, as you can see there, Hughes stepped up to hit the free kick. As I said, there was a couple of moments, especially second half, where I felt that Leeds could have gotten back on the score sheet again, and it just never materialised. It was either just a couple of inches over the bar or a couple of inches wide of the post. I would need to find the stats from somewhere. I don't know where there'd be the stats for this kind of game, but I bet the stats would be interesting to look at. I bet that it would show that Leeds, over the course of 90 minutes, had a lot more opportunities than Norton and Stockton. But this is football, and Leeds were top of the league. But the two teams chasing them down, Huddersfield and Cheadle, they were both against York and Blackburn, who are two of the worst teams in the division, and absolutely walloped them. Absolutely battered them. Certainly Blackburn got an absolute thumping. They're bottom of the league and they got thumped by Huddersfield. And York, who were only about 2 places above, 2 or 3 places above, and they got heavily beaten by Cheadle as well. So Leeds will probably drop. Are they going to drop down to third, or are they still a point ahead of Cheadle? They might still be a point ahead of Cheadle, but they'll definitely go second, a point behind Huddersfield. But Huddersfield and Cheadle have 2 games in hand on Leeds, but they do have to play each other. Now, if Leeds have got any chance of winning the league, firstly Leeds have to beat Stockport, which is Leeds' final game. That's paramount now. The only chance is that occurs. Then you need Huddersfield and Cheadle to drop points, and then whoever's got the least number of points when it gets to their final game of the season. I don't know if the Huddersfield Cheadle match is the final match of the season for them. It might be. But whatever the case is, we have to hope that Leeds are able to get a 2-point advantage over Huddersfield if they can beat Stockport, and then hope that Huddersfield and Cheadle drop enough points between now and the end of the season. That's the only way Leeds finish top of the division. I think there is one place available in second place if Leeds finish second and one of the highest point scoring teams in that level of the women's pyramid. I think. I could be wrong on that. But it's an incredibly hard division to get out of. It's reminiscent of the Men's National League. The former Conference League, well, former Vauxhall Conference as it was called. Where you've only got one team that goes up automatically. And it's the same with this division. It's dreadful. I know the division's small, it's only 12 teams. But does it really hurt that much if the top 2 and the bottom 2 go up and, top 2 go up and bottom 2 go down? In my opinion, I think that would be sensible. Just my thought on it. But I really want to see Leeds women get promoted. They've had a good season. They've had some very good moments at times this season. Just dropping silly points here and there, to be comfortably top of the league, and today's a prime example. Now, again, a little bit of luck going Leeds' way would have been deserved, I think, because they, second half especially, they pressed to get some goals. They had plenty of attacks. They just didn't have the overall quality on the day, I guess, and certainly weren't clinical enough when they had chances. It's a big learning curve for the girls. They're going to have to take a lot on board as to what's happened here. I think that maybe the nerves got to some of the players. You're playing in a completely different environment to what they're used to on a regular weekly match day. But this is the life of a professional footballer, or in this case a semi-professional footballer. It's difficult. The pressure's on. The cheer from the 4,000 Leeds fans was brilliant. When Chloe Dixon scored that goal, and the reason that they got that big cheer was because the team gave the crowd something to cheer about. You've got to give the crowd more. The crowd were very receptive for the most part in terms of when Leeds had the attacks. But there were moments in the game where the crowd was fairly quiet, and it was because they just, certain times there wasn't as much quality as you'd like to see. But again, it's a learning curve for some of these players had never played at a stadium as big as Ellen Road before, never played in front of a 4,000 crowd before. This is a new experience for some of these girls, and that can't be easy. That cannot be easy at all. But when you're top of your division, whatever level you play at, you've got to put in performances. And I think that Simon Wood, I listened to his interview afterwards, and he was fairly philosophical about the situation. He was, he recognised the fact that we did start a bit slow. But then he also recognised that in the second half we were pretty dominant. Alice Hughes gave an interview as well, and again she said she couldn't put it into words in terms of how good the experience was for her, to play at Ellen Road. And as I say, Alice Hughes was one of our best players on the day. She was very good. I thought Alice was a presence, as part of the defensive unit, even though she played as kind of like the anchor role, number 6. And then going forward, she was a threat as well. She's a big, strong girl. Is Alice? She held off a lot of physicality from Norton and Stockton today. I think that if I was to give Norton and Stockton any kind of praise at all, their physical edge is what probably keeps Norton and Stockton in the division. They were very physical, and as I say, quite defensively sound, to be fair to them. Very difficult to break down. Chisnell didn't have a lot of quality shots to save today, and that was the disappointment. But again, that's partially down to the Norton and Stockton defence being quite resolute and quite organised. Leeds just didn't quite have that flair to get through. The Green sisters tried their socks off. Honestly, they were both getting involved in the attacks. It would have been nice to see Paige Williams and Macy Ellis come on a bit earlier to see if they could affect the game. A bit like how Sean Gibble-Keaton came on and she, definitely affected the game, in a positive manner. But yeah, not to be for the Leeds ladies, and I just hope they've still got a slither of a chance of promotion. But it might be hard now, because the confidence levels for Cheadle and Huddersfield are going to be through the roof after they ended up getting big wins today. Albeit, again, those two clubs were against very weak opposition. Blackburn and York have not been good all season, and they both got walloped. So we'll see what happens. But hopefully Leeds can finish on a high. They're still in the West Riding County Cup. They've got a semi-final and possibly a final to play if they get to that point. It's a trophy they did win last season. So hopefully the Leeds women can win that again. It'll give the girls a bit of confidence. It'll be nice for them to win some more silverware and defend the title. But it's promotion that they want. So I hope that they can get a good result away at Stockport County, at Edgeley Park, which is where the Stockport men play as well. Hopefully Leeds can do the business, and then we just need a bit of luck in terms of Huddersfield and Cheadle dropping points. So there we go. I'll leave it there, folks. Bit of a long review, that one, but just wanted to kind of, give you an idea both from the eye test and also from what the written report gave as well. Now, I don't know whether this will work, but I just want to try and show you something. It might be quite small. But it's a very small picture, but it's a picture that I got from watching LUTV. I've taken the screenshot and it shows me in the crowd. I've obviously cropped the crowd out because there might be some unhappy campers that find themselves online otherwise. But I'll just show you this quickly. I might have to do some adjustments here because this probably will look very small. Yeah, the picture, because it's cropped, is very small. That is me, folks. That is me sat at Ellen Road. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, in the meantime, folks, do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please hit the like and the hype. Do please also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. It's a massive game for Leeds United against the old enemy, against our arch rivals tomorrow night under the lights at Scum Trafford. Let's hope that the Leeds players don't suffer any rat poisoning. Oh God, there's so many jokes that have gone round about that situation. But yeah, it's all about the Leeds men now and what they can do tomorrow night. They've been given a boost because Tottenham Hotspur lost again. They lost 1-0 against Sunderland, and Nottingham Forest could only draw with Aston Villa. So if Leeds can avoid defeat tomorrow, then it's a massive point. If we lose, don't get thrashed. Even if we lose by 1 goal, it's not, whether it be a 1-0, a 2-1, something like that, it's not a disaster, because we'd still be pretty much the same as Nottingham Forest. But just, if we lose by 2 goals or more, then we will drop a place down into 16th, but we will not drop below West Ham, as they've got a point less. And then obviously Tottenham are even lower in 18th place, and I love it because all the so-called famous Spurs fans are having an absolute meltdown. Abby Summers, that big fat DJ that presents on TalkSport, Jamie O'Hara, former Spurs player, presenter on TalkSport, and he's been doing some punditry on Sky Sports as well. He's having an absolute meltdown about it. Yeah, it's not an happy camp for the Spuds right now, and when you think of players that they've had in the past, like, I could go through like a whole 11 of them, back in the 90s. All of those players would be puking out their Sunday lunches. It's that bad. But yeah, I'll leave it there, folks. Big thank you for watching. Take care. Have a good one. See you next time. Bye for now.